So your dev team is all in on Agile, but your stakeholders, they need that long-term predictability. Sound familiar? I bet it does. It's this tricky middle ground so many of us find ourselves in, trying to manage testing in a hybrid world. So how do you actually make it work without, going crazy? Well, that's what we're going to break down in this explainer. Let's get into it. All right, so here's our game plan. First, we'll talk about why anyone even goes hybrid. Then we'll look at how to get the best of both worlds. After that, it's all about the practical stuff, juggling two different playbooks. We'll cover how to handle the inevitable problems that pop up, and we'll finish things off with some really important questions you can take back to your team. All right, first up, why bother with hybrid in the first place? Well, it really all comes down to this classic tug of war that's happening right at the heart of software development. You've got this constant pull between two really powerful and often competing ideas. Okay, so picture this. In one corner, you've got your traditional sequential models, like the V model. Their superpower? Predictability. Everything is planned out, you follow the plan, and there are no surprises. But in the other corner, you've got Agile, and its superpower is flexibility. It's all about being able to adapt and respond to change, like right now. And here's the thing. Most companies quickly realize they kind of need a bit of both to survive. And that's exactly where the hybrid model comes in. It's not about trying to decide a winner in that tug of war. Nope. It's about creating a totally new game plan, one that purposefully mashes up the best parts of both. The whole idea is to find that perfect sweet spot, right between super rigid structure and complete chaotic adaptability. Okay, so let's get specific. What is a hybrid model? Well, the official ISTQB definition says it's an approach that combines elements from different models. The key here is that you're strategically cherry-picking. For example, maybe you use that super detailed upfront planning from a V model for a really critical piece of hardware, but then you use fast, agile sprints for the software that your users will actually see and touch. The goal is simple. Build a model that's custom fit for the specific job you're doing. So, when does this actually happen in the real world? Well, a lot of the time, it's just a transitional step. A company's moving towards Agile, but they're not ready to just flip a switch. Or sometimes your hands are tied. You've got regulations or corporate standards that demand those big, formal, old-school deliverables that you just don't get from pure Agile. And then there are times when it's just the smartest choice, a fit-for-purpose solution for a complex project that's got some high-risk, predictable parts and some fast-moving, unpredictable parts. Okay, so we've covered the what and the why. Now let's get into the how. When your team is literally juggling two different playbooks at once, how in the world do you manage testing? This is where a really sharp test manager becomes your MVP, your most valuable player. You see, a test manager's job totally shifts in a hybrid world. It becomes less about being a process cop and way more about being a coach. You've got to constantly be checking in on your team's ability to switch gears, to go from that traditional waterfall mindset to quick, agile execution. You need to know who's crushing it and who's having a hard time. And maybe most importantly, you have to make sure communication is flawless. Are the different parts of the project actually talking to each other or just talking at each other? Big difference. And this table just lays it all out so perfectly. Take a look at reporting. With a sequential model, it's all about those big formal reports at key milestones, right? In Agile, it's all about live, real-time dashboards. But in a hybrid model, well, you're doing both. You're serving two masters. You have to give the stakeholders their milestone check-ins and give the dev team the continuous data they need. And it's the exact same deal with metrics. You're not just looking at test execution and defect rates, you're also watching team velocity and burn down charts. You need both to see the whole picture. Okay, this all sounds great, right? This custom-fit approach. But with all that flexibility comes a whole new set of traps. If you're not careful, blending these different models can create a ton of confusion and complexity. So let's talk about how to navigate those pitfalls. The key is to understand two things: what makes a problem more likely to happen, and what makes it hurt more when it finally does. So what are the red flags that increase the likelihood of something going wrong? Well, sure, some of it's technical, like a super complex system. But honestly, a lot of it is human stuff. Conflict on the team, weak leadership, or when your teams are spread all over the globe. Then you pile on the classic pressures, tight budgets, crazy deadlines. And if you've got a lot of churn, either the product keeps changing or people keep leaving, that's just like pouring gasoline on the fire. Right, but likelihood is only half the story, isn't it? What about the impact? What's the difference between a minor bug and a total catastrophe? Well, it really comes down to two things: exposure and consequence. Think about it. Is this broken feature something that everybody uses all day, every day? Does it put a critical business goal at risk? Could it absolutely destroy your company's reputation or even get you into legal trouble? And here's the kicker. Is there a decent workaround for people, or are they just stuck? That's what turns a simple problem into a full-blown crisis. All right, let's bring all of this back down to earth. We've talked a lot about the theory, so now it's time to get practical. It's time to apply these ideas and ask some tough but necessary questions about how your team is really operating day to day. So if you take one thing away from this, let it be this. Effective hybrid test management isn't about picking one methodology over another. It's about mastering a balancing act. You are constantly juggling the need for that formal structure with the need for on-the-fly adaptive flexibility. That's the whole game. So, with that in mind, here are 3 questions I want you to take back to your team. Question number 1. How well is your current test reporting actually working? I mean, really working. Are you just cranking out these one-size-fits-all reports that kind of don't help anyone? Or have you actually figured out how to tailor your communication so it works for both the long-term stakeholders and the day-to-day dev team? All right, number 2. Where are the biggest friction points? And you gotta be honest here. Where does the process just feel clunky or slow down when you have to switch between those big, planned-out tasks and a fast-moving agile sprint? Is it in the handoffs? Is it in the meetings? Pinpointing that exact spot is the only way you're ever gonna smooth it out. And for our last question, let's circle back to risk. When your team talks about risk, are you looking at the entire picture? It is so easy to just focus on the likelihood of something happening. But a really mature team understands that even a low probability bug can have a catastrophic business impact. So are you weighing both sides of that coin? Are you absolutely sure you're focusing on the risks that truly matter?